The Russian government says inflation is under control, clocking in at under 10%. But are Russian food bloggers accidentally outing the reality of the sanctions and inflation in Russia's economy? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. Okay, so this is an interesting story, and what started me kind of looking at this is an unusual story in the Moscow Times, citing the fact that there's been a surge in theft of butter as butter prices bizarrely spike, and dairy producers are blaming demand for ice cream? Yeah, why are Russians buying so much ice cream and cheese that there's now a price surge in butter? This seems pretty weird and doesn't really make a lot of sense. And here's the troubling thing. This is actually coming from Rosstat, the state statistics agency, who accidentally outed that butter has actually spiked 25.5% in year over year. Right. And of course, a union of food producers, right? Again, someone who is associated, the Russian Produsoyuz Union, said that a kilogram of butter now averages 1,000 rubles, right? But the fact is that they say, oh, this is increased demand for ice cream and cheese, guys. Nothing to worry about. And oh, yeah, there's some higher production costs. Right, but this has actually been such a dramatic increase of such an important staple that thefts of butter have proliferated across Russia. And Russia, the thing is, Russia imports only about 25% of its butter, primarily from Belarus, a country who is effectively a Russian proxy. And so this is a pretty troubling symbol, right? Normally, Russia blames sanctions for its problems, but this is entirely a crisis of its own creating. In fact, Russia's now trying to reach out to quasi-friendly countries like the UAE and Turkey to try to scale back surging butter prices. Of course, the UAE doing not that much, just 90 tons of butter to Russia, and also Turkey. So this is really interesting, right? And but the interesting part is this got me thinking, I should really take a look at Russian supermarket. I should try to see what the current prices are now and what they were in 2023 in the reality, not according to the state statistics agency. And what I found was actually pretty interesting. The first of which is nobody's actually reporting on the ground prices in Russia except for lifestyle vloggers. That's right. Russian lifestyle vloggers may have just outed the Russian inflation rate. Now, before we talk about that, I wanted to mention that, you know what costs too much nowadays? Energy drinks. Energy drinks in the US are like $5 a pop, and they kind of suck. They're loaded with sugar. They taste like cough medicine. So if you're looking for something more efficient and frankly a little more modern, you don't need to be getting your caffeine the same way you did in 2006, right? Come into the future with Strike Gum. Strike Gum, veteran owned, obviously, made in the USA out in Denver, but the thing that makes it great is it's got 90 milligrams of caffeine in each piece, 100 milligrams of alpha GPC, and 0 sugar. So if you are looking for the better way to caffeinate, don't haul around a gross energy drink that tastes like cough medicine. Pop a Strike Gum, chew it, and get the energy that's going to fuel you all day. So go to strikegum.com, or you can go to Amazon, just search Strike Gum. You can't miss us. We're the highest rated energy gum on the platform. Okay, so let's talk about old Russians' inflation rate. So according to Rosstat, right, the inflation rate annualized is about 8.6%, totally under control. But if you poke around YouTube, you'll notice that there's a whole subset of people who offer Russian grocery store price videos. In fact, I found this individual here named Lovi who toured a grocery store in September 2023. This video dropped about a year ago. And while grocery store prices are pretty tough, right? Because I don't know Russian brands, and it's hard to compare apples to oranges, so to speak, or in some cases, the Primo organic milk brand versus the generic store brand. But there's some prices that are just locked in, and one of those is meat. So I was able to find this shot here that explains that as of about a year ago, a kilogram of beef, right, and this is not exactly a great looking cut of beef, was 779 rubles, right? Now, let's zoom ahead. Here's a different vlogger who is accidentally rolling out Russian grocery prices. As you can see, what he says is beef And you can see the beef here, right? Beef cuts are costing about 960 rubles a pop, right? And this is really interesting because this is the first time we've seen this. And the nice thing is, these are also both in kilograms. So when we run the math, right, you actually find that the percentage increase, the real increase, at least of beef prices, is 23% year over year. That's nearly 3 times the official Russian state amount. Right? Remember, the Russians said their inflation rate annualized is only 8.6%. But we know that butter is up about 25%. We know meat is now up 23%. So for Russians at the grocery store, they are feeling a squeeze that is a lot tougher than the one that the official government says. And again, for the Russian public, they are starting to see some war fatigue kicking in their government, right? The key difference, of course, for Russian public, they know this is a war of choice, that they can leave any time their conflict in Ukraine. Ukrainians are fighting for their survival. So while the Ukrainian economy is also struggling, polling data is clear that overwhelmingly Ukrainians support the continued war effort, whereas the Russians, well, the polling data is less clear, right? A lot of Russians, actually, it's illegal for them to say they don't support the war, but it's pretty clear from their behavior that they're really getting tired of seeing these tremendously climbing prices. Anyway, guys, that's all I had. Huge thank you to the Colonel tier members like Bill Collier, Robert Colberg, Guys, Marnie, Gina Cuesta, Chris Gorsuch, Francis Carius, L90, Petra Toru, all of our Lieutenant tier members. Hit that subscribe button if you appreciate this content, and I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers.